Did you know your story could bring glory to God? Tell it like it is. No judging, just transparency. To someone else, your story might not sound like it has a happy ending, but God says for His children, the end is greater than the beginning.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you to the Divine Intervention. I am your host, Erlisha Young Rents. I pray that thus far that your week has been blessed and that you all are just enjoying your weekend. As always, Beyond the Four Walls and the Divine Intervention want to let you know that we stand in prayer for you, uplifting all those who are in bereavement on this weekend. And if there be any sickness, we speak healing right now. On today, I have a very special friend, sister, confidant on today, and I just want to open the floor for her to be able to share her process of healing. Many of you know that we've all been faced with challenges in life, but how many of you know that when we face these challenges in life, that oftentimes they leave scars or they leave wounds that oftentimes we suppress and we don't want to deal with. But how many of you know that those things have to be dealt with in order for you to grow and go to your next step in life? I'm going to just relinquish my stance right now, and I'm going to allow Miss Talks with the Ladies, LaShawna Brown, to introduce herself to you. So I'll move out the way.
Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is LaShawna Brown. I go by Lady. I am the host of Talks with the Lady, LLC, here in Gainesville, Florida. I am the mother of 7, 4 sons and 3 daughters, which are my life. They are everything to me. They're my definition for breathing, for living. Everything I do is surrounded around my children. So it is a pleasure to be here today. I am going to speak with you on my healing process and how I overcame so many different obstacles. I have written about this prior to this interview in a book that I published back in 2021. It's called Transitioning from Breakdowns to Breakthroughs. And it's pretty much a memoir of a list of events that have occurred throughout the duration of my life, from childhood even up through right after my divorce, in the death of my father as well, and my mother. So I've had a lot of healing that I've had to, succumb to. So it's definitely one of those things where you have to have God, in your life to be able to help you get through those things, because that is the only thing that's going to help you get through it. I can relate to a lot of what occurs and what goes on in our daily life in general, because I've had a little bit of every ounce of situations that we can come up with. Excuse me. So it depends where we need to start from, because again, there's so many different situations in my life, so many letdowns, so much abandonment, confusion, friendships that I thought I had, relationships, even the marriage that I thought that I had, so on and so forth. But God showed me something different. And I used to question myself a lot as to why I go through, or why I went through a lot of the stuff that I've had to go through in life. So I just came down, it's like God just spoke to me one day and just said, you were chosen for this. I chose you for the assignment. So that is where, again, my talk show, Talks with the Lady, it allows me to be transparent about not only life situations, but a lot of things that have occurred in my life that may occur in yours. So it's pretty much me giving my testimony for someone else. that may need to hear it, and someone that might needs to be healed, someone that may need to understand that you are not alone, that there is someone else. And some people say, you know, you're not the first and you won't be the last. Exactly. And that's where I stand in, and I stand firm on I am the testimony. So, you know, I've had to heal in so many different areas, but it just all depends. The one that has truly really broken me down, I want to say was the death of my father, but that was like a natural occurrence for me. You know, like I knew that it wasn't going to be destined to be forever, that he would be here, but me and my father were really, really close. But prior to that, the thing that broke my heart was my marriage. It broke my heart because I went in with certain expectations that, you know, this is what my life would be like. I'm finally in a situation where it's like God sees that I'm trying to do the right thing. And, you know, because I've had kids before from other, you know, different fathers and so on and so forth. But I finally decided, okay, you know, I'm finally married. I'm doing it the right way. And only to be disappointed. In the end, it took a lot out of me. And a lot of people might not understand it. And it might not be for them to understand. You got a lot of people that's on the outside looking in, but until you can actually be in that situation where you can actually go through all the torment, the betrayal, like so many different things that you can encounter, even as one person, it's enough to break you down. And I mean, I could start from the beginning, I can start midway, or I can just pretty much start from where it was ended. But that would be my start, because I'm not going to say that the entire marriage was not of purpose. You know, I have 2 children from that marriage, so the most important thing that came out of it was my 2 little girls. So, and I cherish them with everything that's in me. Yes, they are my children. Yes, I do praise them, but I also gave them back to God.
Yes.
You know, like, God, these are your children. You loaned them to me. So, and not only did he just loan them to me, he gave them and put them in my care and said, okay, I know that if it's not going to get done, I know you're going to do it, you know. And that's what I've been faced. I've had to do it. But not only doing it alone, I've had help. God never left me. And it's been like that. And it just reminded me, even with my other children, God never left me to the point where I had to do it all on my own, because he was there every step of the way. He would send help. You know, at that particular time when, like I said, when my mother and my father had passed, I just felt like, oh God, you know, what's going to go on now? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this without them? And not having an ounce of family support. Jesus. Not even an ounce. Like, my children don't know their family. They don't know my side of the family. Wow. At all. They have no idea who they are. I mean, they know names, but there's no relationship, you know, with them. So I've been forced to do this, and I've been forced to be strong. And it's, again, that's a part of this healing process. But wherever it is that you would like for me to start from.
Well, the thing is, you know, people look at us on the outside, and they think, or we appear to have it all together, but I can tell you that healing is necessary.
Right.
This world is probably so dysfunctional because you have so many people that have gone through so many different things, and they don't understand that I have baggage.
Right.
And I'm toting this stuff with me everywhere I go.
Right.
So if a person has been, let's just say, married 5 times, and then they get married a 6th time, if they don't allow God to walk them through that healing process, each one of those times, they're taking that baggage from the previous one until the next one, and so on and so forth.
Right.
But God puts people in place. Like you said, you had help. When that person comes along, they don't prey on your weakness. They don't prey on the fact that you are broken and that you have wounds that need to heal. They meet you where they are.
Right.
And they love you. You know, I always just dreamed of being able to have this mate where he would say, I know that you're broken.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you've been hurt, you know, and would be able to walk me through the areas of my life where I've been hurt and torn down and all of that different kind of stuff. So God puts people in place to help you. Like you say, your family. Your kids don't know your family. They don't know your family by genetics or bloodline, but God has given them another family.
Right.
And see, that's what God does. He accents the areas of our life where we're broken. So if you're struggling in an area, what would be some encouragement or a level of advice that you could give someone? Because I do know that when you keep dealing with the same stuff, there is something in you that has to be dealt with. And just based off of the things that you have shared, what would you be able to offer to them? How did you get here? You didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to be Talks with the Lady. God walked you through a process. So the audience might say, well, how did she get there? How did she make it?
Well, Pastor, it was more on, I had to rely on something. I know my kids were my motivation, but at the same time, sometimes that's just not enough. I'm going to be just honest. Okay, this is going to be my motivation, but how do I get up from out of this slump that I'm in? When I tell you, it took the heartbreak. It took all of that. But me knowing that this is where they want me at was even more ammunition for me to keep going. Like, I know that they're waiting for me to fail. I know that they're thinking I'm gonna go and do bad. I'm just gonna fall off. You know, everything's gonna. That was more ammunition for me. So my kids were my motivation. But every time someone said something, or every time I seen that they were, you know, even posting stuff on social media to try to make me feel a certain type of way or what, it was more ammunition for me to get up and be who God intended for me to be. You know, it was like, okay, I can't stop here. And not only that, my bloodline, my dad, I can't fail. It's in me. It's the fight is in me. You know, so I can't say that, I'm going to say that I was down, but I didn't stay down. And when I say down, I was hurt. I was more hurt. I felt a lot of betrayal. It was things that I did for people in general, and they turned back around and hurt me in the worst way, you know. And I had to really go, because in my mind, there were some times that I felt like I wanted to go and retaliate, but it was God that stopped me and said no. And then something would happen. Like, it was one of my kids that desperately needed me at a time, and I'm like, okay, why now? Because if I would have did it my way, I'd have been taken away from them. Jesus. I would have been taken away from my kids. And I'm going to tell you why it's such a big factor. I'm going to tell you why I talk about this. Is because I could have been taken away from my children, and it was the disrespect, I think, even towards my kids. And my kids experienced a lot of what, every time I'm hurt, every time, you know, I'm disappointed, I become disappointed, you know. My kids are always there to reassure me and to put their arms around me and to kiss me and to tell me that they love me and Mom, it's going to be all right. It's like, how many times is it going to be all right? You know, how many times is it? But they just never gave up on me. So again, everything that they did was more of a push to me. Like, okay, keep going, keep showing. And every time I kept pushing, God just said, you know what? Now come on. He held my hand and said, come on, let's take this next step. Let's take another one. And so it's like, when you have that spiritual connection with God, you'll understand what I'm talking about. You really have to be connected with God. I stayed on my knees. I prayed. I cried out to God. I got butt naked on my floor and just said, God, here I surrender to you. And I had to do that, which is something that I barely did. But prior to all of this, but I had to just stretch my arms and say, God, I belong to you. I'm your child. I'm your daughter. You said that you would carry me through this. You said that you would allow me to be the head and not the tail. You know, even though I've encountered all of this hurt, this pain during the duration of this time, suicide couldn't take me out. I was not supposed to be here today. I really was not supposed to be here today.
Wow.
I had an attempt, and again, this is my testimony, and I tell people about this because I want you to understand that that's not even the way. That's not, because when God has assignment over your life, there's nothing that you can do, you know.
But answer
the call.
That's it. That's it.
But there was work that God had for me. He had me out on assignment.
Wow.
And he said, I never knew quite what it, I always did what I wanted to do.
Yes.
And I kept wondering why it would fail. But at the same time, I said, God, I took me out of the equation. And I said, what is it that you want me to do? Because what I'm doing is not working.
And see, it's funny you say that because that's kind of the place where I am now. And ever since Sunday, I left everything at the altar. You know, whatever God needs to do in me, you know, Lord, have your way. But I do know that his way is the only way.
Right.
And you sometimes don't realize that God is all you have and need until he's all you've got. And you put so much confidence in other people because when people are so used to seeing you strong, it's like you want to break and you can't break.
No.
It's like you cry out and they looking at you like, you need to get yourself, but I'm human. And I hurt just like you do. And just because you say, God, yes, that does not mean that instantly no, you signed up for a battle. And if you're going to be a generation changer, or if you're going to be a generational curse breaker, you're going to be a moving target. So everything about you, the enemy is going to try to disrupt. And some things were truly God's will, but you have to understand that the people in it, they have a choice. They have their own process that they have to go through. So you get in a place where it's like, God, that's a soul. They need your help just like I do.
Right.
They need to heal from some things just like, and sometimes the hurt that they projected on you, the demons that they're dealing with, it don't have nothing to do with you. It's a part of what God needs to work out in them. And sometimes, rather than, okay, let's walk through this, sometimes it's easier for somebody just to walk away.
Right.
But there's no quit here. Because God didn't stop by my situation or your situation and say, you know what, that's too much for me. Like the song we were listening to, God keeps his word. He cannot fail.
Right.
He will not fail. So the key is what? Your relationship with God.
And that's what I had to come to that conclusion because I've always known God. I've always had a relationship with God. My dad brought me up in the church, so I know. I mean, I was in there 3-4 times a week. I had a connection. I knew what I needed to do. I knew in time of help, call God. In time of sorrow, call God. You know, when you're weak, call God. I mean, I knew these things. But it's just like, God, I need you here right now. But where have I ever went? Where have I gone? I've been here to protect you. I've kept you. And it's just like the enemy was out to attack, like to really out to destroy me. But let me tell you something. I was reminded yet again that the enemy ain't gonna bother with nobody that he already got. I'm a child of God. And a lot of people might not understand it. They might not. But when I go through what I go through it with pride. You know? I don't even complain anymore because I just count it a blessing because I know in the end I'm going to be victorious. Because see, this is what people fail to understand. The battles, the things that we face from day to day, they're not ours.
Yes, they know.
They belong to God.
Yes.
But God he allows us to endure it to be a testimony for someone else. And I'm a walking testimony every day, honey. I get in my car, I might not even know. But you know what? I'm protected by the blood.
Yes.
I am so protected by the blood. That is why now I don't allow myself to get so angry or so, I hate to use the word hate. I really hate to use the word hate. But I don't hate people. I have to accept them for who they are. Because I know that we're not dealing with them. We're looking at them in the physical, but their spirit is so contaminated, it's so broken up into different pieces. And I can't argue with you. I can't, because the way I'm
two broken people.
Right. I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? But I know where to go for my healing.
Yes.
I know how to properly follow the guidelines of what God says. This is what's required. Yes. I know how to get in my closet, and I know how to cry out. Yes. I know how to cast out them demons out of my house and out of my children. Lord, I rebuke it right now. And then I know how to do that. Jesus. And that's what I've had to depend on. Even with as much as I have today and where God has really taken me, I still need God. Yes. Because and even prior to me coming, even here on your platform, to have this interview, I counted a blessing like God. He said, yes, it's required. As long as I know I got you here, I can have you. You get what I'm saying? Yes. Like, I need you on all levels. Yes. Everything that I do. And it even says, in all things, give God praise. Yes. You know what I'm saying? So I count all of it joy. Wow. Even, I don't care where I'm at in life, what I'm doing, the obstacles I've had to face, the encounters with different people, I've had the falling out, I still count it all joy. Wow. But it didn't break me. Because you got one or two options. You can let it make you or break you. I just refuse to do that. I know that you hurt me. I know that you betrayed me. I know that you backstabbed me. I know that you talked behind my back. God showed me, but guess what? I still love you. Yes. Because that love is going to be required for me to be on any level, whoever I'm with, it's going to be required. So again, it's a test. It's a test for a testimony.
And see, people think love, when you love somebody, that means you got to be in their face all the time. No. That's what people misinterpret love with. And you have to understand that people make a mockery out of understanding your love language. You cannot love people how you want to love them. You have to learn how to love people the way that they need to be loved. That means you have to cancel your agenda and how you think needs to be things need to go. Because when it comes to God, when it comes to Jesus Christ, He loved us so much that He could care less whether we kick or scream or whatever. I see the danger ahead of you. I already know. So when I tell you no, stop, wait, it's for a purpose. I've already gone into your tomorrow. And sometimes he will strip us of everything. Because He knows the imminent danger that's ahead of us. But we'll kick. And we'll try to do it our way. And I'm going to get this person to do that. And I'm going to do it my way because I know better than God. But the word of the Lord says every knee
shall bow.
It's going to bow. That rings in my mind all the time. Lord, if you're saying everybody's going to bow to you, if you keep running, in my mind, that's just the greater God going to use you. He got you running for a set time. But when God calls you, you have to answer the call. And guess what? I'm sorry. God didn't call me when everything was, He called me in the middle of some mess. So while I'm hurting, while I'm bleeding, I got to say, God, I trust you. God, I know I messed that up. But God, I trust you. So there's no, when I get myself together, I'll decide. No. When God calls you, He's going to walk you through that healing. He's going to purge whatever He needs to purge out of you. And guess what? You got to get to a point where you're okay with it. He's your creator. He knows what's best for you. God has to restore us back to that original state.
State of mind. That's
And
right.
some of us have been so toxified.
Mhm.
And it's sad. You begin to have compassion for people that don't want to be loved. You think, or they think that love is me having my way, me being in control. But love is saying, you know what? I can't do this by myself.
Mhm.
Even loving yourself. Because most times we what? We our own worst enemy.
Yeah.
This flesh. All this.
But you know, Pastor, now I'm gonna tell you, a lot of that too is kind of, it's built inside, like in our DNA, how we were taught.
Mhm.
You know, you have your DNA and you have what was taught. You know what I'm saying? If you're taught love, you're going to give love. You know, because that's what you know. That's what you were taught. I was raised. I wasn't brought up, or I wasn't sent to. My dad didn't send me to church, or had somebody else take it. You know what I'm saying? They didn't do that. I was raised. And that's a significant difference as well. I think that has a lot to do with what I believe in, but most importantly, the God that was in him. And it kind of triggered right on down, you know, because we are, you know, who we were raised by. We become these species, you know. If you were raised to if you've seen people use people most of their life, you succumb to that. If you see people love people and just kind of stay their distance but still love people, then you succumb to that. That's just what it is. And that is what I've seen. Everything that I am my Father's child.
Wow.
I am my Father's child. Wow. Again, that is why I was chosen to go through so much.
Wow.
Look how they did Jesus.
I was thinking about that earlier.
I mean, they did so much. They tormented him.
Yeah. For what?
For what? You know. And guess what? I still do. Love. Some people say, "Oh, you got to learn how to." Once they be done did that, I can't. But guess what? Jesus did. He died for all of us, though. For our sin. God, His only Son.
What if he would have said, "Man, I'm finna get up off this cross.
Oh.
Done beat me and done all, and then y'all want to talk.
Listen.
Now y'all want to pierce my side. I don't know what y'all got going. Y'all don't even know
No.
the half of it."
But look, that's that agape love. That's the love that only God can give. I'm telling you. And I sometimes wonder, like, God, this person done hurt me so bad. In the situation with that whole, I'm talking about the whole marriage thing. The very same situation that broke me down. You're still able to say, I love you still. I still love you. Not in love like that, you know what I'm saying? But I still love you. I still care. I still have feelings, you know. I'll never understand. Sometimes I like, Lord, why did you give me the heart that you gave me? You know, why did you give me this heart like this right here? You know, because to me, it was more like a blessing and a curse at the same time. Because when people know how your heart is set up, they still keep manipulating you, and they still keep doing this, and they disrespect you, and they feel like they can do. But you know, I'm at a point and I'm in a season in my life where I don't care what you say or do to me. Amen. Because at the end of the day, you got to answer to him.
That's it.
Because I'm his child.
That's
what
it.
you do to me, you're going to have to answer to him for that. Now, what I do, I'm held accountable.
That's it.
But because I have the love of God inside of me,
Wow.
trust and believe, sweetheart, I'm going to always come out on top.
That's
It doesn't matter who prays for your downfall. It doesn't matter who don't support her. It does not matter. I am the daughter to a king.
Yes. Yes.
And I will stand on that.
Yes.
I always stand on that. That is where my help comes from. That is where my healing comes from.
And it usually takes you going, through things like that to really realize who God is, and how much you have to depend on Him. And when He say in the Word that I can do all things through Christ.
Mhm.
That's the key.
Mhm.
Without Christ, you can't do anything. You can't even desire him without him, because he said it is me who wills you the power and the pleasure to even please me.
Mhm.
Salvation is a gift.
Right.
You can't do good enough to receive that gift. It's a gift to you. And once you come to the end of yourself, then God can walk you truly through that healing process, because we all got something going on now. And it's just so amazing how it happens so quick when you surrender
Mhm.
things to God. How it's like,
He
okay,
comes.
I'm not going to take that personal. They got something going on.
Mhm.
So God, deal with me.
Right.
And he'll give you peace.
Mhm.
Just like that. Learning how to cast your cares on him is such a beautiful thing. And I know that we could go on and on and on about, but I do know that people want to know about the rough parts. Not the my hands are lifted. No, okay, I see your hands lifted
Right.
up. But how did you get there?
Okay. I'm gonna start from. I think I'm gonna start from the. We'll start from the marriage. Is that what we want to talk about? Is that where we really want to start?
Hey, whatever he give you.
So because we're talking about healing, and God placed this on my heart to get this out there because I feel like people need to know. I was in a marriage, and this is what a lot of people keep bringing to me, so they keep coming to me and they ask me questions, so I'm going to put it out there yet again. I was in a marriage, which was my first marriage, and I experienced a lot of betrayal. Some a little bit more, sometimes it was a little bit more frequent than others, more towards the middle. I had been dealing with mentally trying to figure out if I was even worthy because of all the infidelity. I dealt with the self-worth. I dealt with self-confidence. I felt like I was just nothing or no one. Like, who am I? Because I had the notion that if someone goes outside of you, that you weren't worthy. And you just stated it before that it's not necessarily you. It's something that they're dealing with. Okay. And again, so I'm clearing the air. I had dealt with a lot of that, so I decided I didn't want to deal with it anymore. I had 2 children out of my marriage. I filed for divorce the first time, but I was pregnant at the time when I filed for the initial divorce. The judge threw it out, and because we had both agreed that, hey, this is not what we want to do. We tried to work on it again. So lo and behold, nothing changed. I gave birth to my daughter. So much had went on during the duration of that time. I ended up going to jail. Me and my son had an altercation. I ended up going to jail. And that's where the real love that was supposed to be shown was coming out. This is what the real was. So I pretty much had no one. I had no one. I had lost everything during the duration of this time. For about October 2018, I had lost everything. I lost my place. I was sleeping in my car at Walmart parking lot. Then sometime after that, after about 2 weeks, and I was living with a friend, and then after that, then I was finally invited to go and live with his sister. I had an air mattress that I slept on the floor, in her apartment. My baby was born, my baby was on an air mattress. So that's the way it was. And again, I'm thinking to myself, like, I have a husband, like this these are things that a husband makes sure, you know. So I ended up getting a voucher. It was a voucher, and you know, through these different programs they have out there for people that have like excuse me, open DCF cases and so on and so forth. So I ended up getting like a Section 8 voucher, and it put me in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. You know, I'm thinking to myself, like, something's better than that. And I can get off this floor, off this air mattress. So I took the first thing that was smoking, and I ended up moving into that house. Some months into living into that house, and there were some issues, some problems, but then that was when I found out about the woman that he's with now, that he's married to. We were still married, him and I, at the time. So when I found out about it, I filed again for the divorce. This time I was ready. I wanted it to be done, because at this point it was more like, it's disrespectful now. You know, you need help. I can't fight that demon. I can't go back and forth with you. I want out. Was it something I wanted to initially do at that time? No, but my heart wasn't ready. But in my mind, I was like, I want out. So I filed for another divorce. There was all kinds of stuff of being pictures posted on social media of this female and my ex-husband. Now he's my ex-husband, but at that time there was pictures of my husband and her, and then stuff that people was reporting, coming back to me, and they were like stuff that they would show me, and I'm like, okay, yet again, I'm dealing with more disrespect. Now, mind me, I've already lost everything. I've lost everything that I've had. Even prior to me meeting him, there was nothing for me to have $20,000, $30,000 in my bank account. I lost everything. When I moved into this place, this 2-bedroom, I moved in off of income tax. But my bank account was negative 200, negative 100. I had absolutely nothing. I broke down so many days, but I didn't want my children to see me in that state of mind, that I put all my trust in a man and I let them down. That really took a lot out of me, you know. So that is why when I filed the second time, I knew that I had to do it. Despite having 2 additional children, and I love my children, don't get me wrong, but I had more responsibility, having to do it again now on my own. And it was like, those 5 that I initially had, it's like, okay, we're almost there. We're almost at the finish line, you know, and then I get 2 more. And I think that hurt me the most, because for my little girls to experience, for one, they didn't ask to be here, you know, and then now we got to experience yet another broken home because of your selfishness, you know. I think that is initially what really got me, and it was that I went all out of my way for you, helping you down so many different avenues. I helped you with your other children, and just taking them as my own, filing petitions. I really look at stuff like this, you know? And then I look at how his family, the same way, like the things that I did, especially with his mother, you know, I was there day in and day out helping health-wise. She had been in this accident, and I just looked at that like, how could you do me? Like, I wish that I had my mother to be able to do that for her. And I did that because I looked at her like a mother, you know? So all of this had began to weigh on me. Like, how could you do me this way? You know that you're hurt when you pull yourself into a ball. Like, what do I have left? You know? And then now it's easy for you to go and move on. And I'm like, I question myself, how is it so easy for you to move on? When it took me a couple of years to heal from the hurt, the betrayal, because it was never there. The love was never there.
And that, I think that that's something that most young ladies, most young men because men go through that kind of stuff too.
Mhm.
I think that that's the part that they miss,
Mhm.
because some people's motives
Mhm.
and agenda for love are so much different
Right.
than ours. Because I know, like with me, the essence of me is love.
Mhm.
And one thing that God has been working on me with, loving unconditionally.
Right.
And when you love unconditionally, you have to love people through their conditions, basically. That's what that means.
And that's what I did.
And sometimes the end result of it is not always favorable or comfortable, but God allowed it for a purpose.
Mhm.
So much bigger or so much greater
Right.
than us. And just, with the brief synopsis that you just gave us, the question is, through it all, look at you now.
Yeah, I know, right?
I mean, look at you now. Like, I'm sure you have moments, because you're human, but look at you now. You picked up all of your broken pieces,
Mhm.
and you kept going where many would have given up,
Mhm.
where many would have turned to, drugs or alcohol.
Mhm.
You leaned in, and a lot of people say, "Oh, you use God as a crutch," and that. But what are the best arms
Mhm.
to run to when I'm broken,
Yeah, right.
when I've made a mess?
Mhm.
Because one thing that we have to realize is, a lot of times the red flags,
Mhm.
they're there.
Right.
When people say, do your research,
Mhm.
check the family history.
Right.
That's one thing I like about Earl's
Mhm.
future wife.
Mhm.
She questioned me.
Right.
She want to know about our
Everything.
history. She want to know, we're going to have crazy babies or, but stuff like that we take for granted.
Right.
And then we get in these situations
Mhm.
and God has to heal us. But the beautiful thing about it, he says that I'll work
Mhm.
all things together
For the good of those who love the
for the
Lord.
good. And as we get ready to close out, we're not going to give you all the tea.
Mhm.
I'm going to have you back to go just a little bit deeper. After the pain,
After the pain.
after the pain, I really want, you to be able to just go a little bit deeper, because, you talked about the incident, and you talked about how you had to pull yourself together and maybe do some things that weren't necessarily comfortable to you. But there's a story after the pain.
There's so much more, because even during the duration of me going through this phase, it's like, okay, at this point, this is what I had to do. And then I moved on, and then this here happened and so, and then God showed me this and maneuvered me here. Like it's so many, that's why I say it's like kind of starting from the top, because at that very moment, God broke me down. And I'm going to tell you why he broke me down. Because he had to rebuild. He had to rebuild me to be the woman that I was prior to. Like, let me remind you of who you are.
Because Shauna had got in the way.
Yes.
Alicia had got in the way.
Yes.
And it's funny how he said, I will break your
Right.
heart
Mm-hmm.
so that you will line up
Mm-hmm.
and be what I created you to be.
I had forgotten about God, and we got to remember that God is a jealous God.
Mm.
And we're talking about going from $20,000, $30,000 in the bank account, praising God every Sunday, worshiping and having a relationship with God, to
Zero.
put $0 in the bank, putting a man before God. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many. The story is, oh my God.
Wow.
I thank God for who he's put in my life. I thank God for what he's doing in my life. I thank God for the trials and the tribulations. The next episode, I'm going to go a little bit deeper in how the hurt frustrated me. How I was frustrated by the hurt, but more importantly, where my actual healing began to take place. that is the most important part of this story because I'm able to give back and to teach and show others, you know, who God is.
Yes.
And I'm about to get emotional, but I'm going to wait next time. That's where the real emotions going to come out.
So the next time we come together, we're going to be talking about after the pain. Your pain has purpose. I am Erlisha Young-Ritz. I am your host of the Divine Intervention. I hope that something has been said on today that not only enlightened you, but encouraged you to pick up your broken pieces and keep moving. And I know oftentimes in the midst of what you're going on, you have that emptiness. But I want you all to be encouraged and know that God is. But I'm going to step back and I'm going to just allow her to just close it out. Again, join us live on Saturdays at 1 o'clock. God bless you all. I love you all.
And go in peace. Remember that not everything that we endure is for our downfall. Remember, we all have to grow. They're called growing pains. We will get through it. We're going to get through it together. And remember that God loves you and ain't nothing no one can do about it.
I'll see you next Saturday. God bless.
God bless.